Okay, this is great. Okay, Chag Sameach to everyone. Okay, so we was Zocha on Shabbat to really go through the 40th pamphlet, and Baruch Hashem, we hope we did it justice. Then that was an hour and a half. This is going to be a half hour, give or take. So we're not going to go through the whole thing, but hopefully you get to feel the spirit of the day and really appreciate Baruch Hashem what's going on. So the HaAtzmaut Derasha always consists of two parts. First part is a halacha hashkafat analysis of some topic connected to Medina Israel. And then the second, if we review all the brachot that what Hashem has given us in the past year, especially, and over the last 200 years, really, since the whole Shivat Zion movement began, with the Gra, the Baal Shem Tov Chassam Sofer, setting the Talmud in late 1700s, early 1800s. So this year we focused on the shaila of creating a new day. People who are not big fans of Yom HaAtzmaut and the whole Medina Israel, the creation of Medina Israel, a lot of tainas, they don't see the brachot over here, and by the tzionim, the chilayim, and all. Besides all that, they said even if there's something good, you can't make up a new holiday. You can't do that, and it's not true. Like any other sugya in Shas, it's a sugya that needs to be looked into and researched. And if you look at the handout, page 2. So before you get into the question of halachically, can you set up a new holiday? Well, why would you want to set up a holiday? So there's a list of reasons. A lot of this first section is based on a very, very holy rabbi, Rav Eliezer Melamed, Nine Halacha, and his books together, Hebrew and English, I think sold about 1 million copies over the last 20 so years, just a testimony, and it's only within the Datilumi world, just to give a feel for how appreciated he is. This past few months, he came under a lot of attacks and stuff, and I have no problem with people arguing machlokas shem shamayim, but it has to always be a good halach machloket, respect for machlokas, never attacking the person, just challenging the position. But to me, Rav Melamed is an amazing, amazing tzaddik and Talmid Chacham. So a lot of the first second is from him, and he just gives a list. So before we could talk about halachically how you would set up a day, well, why would you? What is here in the creation of Medina Israel that we should say, yes, let's set up a new day? So he just refines the points here. You have two aspects to the mitzvah of Yishuv Aretz. Not a well-known point. You have the halachic aspect of Yishuv Aretz, that each one of us that comes has a mitzvah Yishuv Aretz. Rav Yosef Karo was here 500 years ago, Yishuv Aretz. Ramban came 800 years ago, mitzvah Yishuv Aretz. Anyone who the tried didn't quite make it, but if he would have come, Yishuv Aretz. Anyone that comes, Yishuv Aretz. Doesn't matter if it's in the 1000s, 1100s, 1900s, you have the mitzvah of Yishuv Haaretz. That's Pasha. Many poskim say the ultimate Yishuv Aretz is another aspect, not an individual coming. That's beautiful. Each one who comes is ribonut, sovereignty over the land. And that sovereignty over the land happened for the first time in over 2,000 years. In 2,000 years, on HaER 1948, where Ben Gurion declared that we are in control of our nation, and we somehow fought off miraculously the 5 armies that attacked us and are more or less continuing to attack us in one way or another. And we're here. And that was this Jewish sovereignty that stayed. No one thought it would. Everyone thought Ben Gurion was suicidal, and somehow we made it. And Jewish sovereignty is the true fulfillment of Yishuv Aretz. That's Kivush Aretz. Otherwise, just individuals. So each individual is a mitzvah, but then this is the national one. And that's the Ramban in his commentary on Sefer HaMitzvah, Mitzvah Dalet. So it's very important to know that aspect. Now, we couldn't do that for centuries and centuries. We didn't have the manpower We have the ability, politically, militarily, we didn't have that ability. So we were honest, you could say. Maybe as individuals, we had a chiyuv to make aliyah, but as a nation, to take control, we just couldn't. So that's what we have, those two aspects. Then, on page 3, in the halacha, we see a fascinating thing, that when there's Jewish sovereignty, halacha changes. Beis Yosef says that if the Jews are in control of Yerushalayim, then you don't have to do kriya when you see Yerushalayim. There's 3 kriyas, over Yehuda, Yerushalayim, and over the Kotel, the Migdash area. So the Beis Yosef says if you have Jewish sovereignty, that's it. Mishru quotes it also. You don't need to do kriya. Not on the Kotel, but on Yerushalayim. And Rav Moshe quotes this as well. Or someone Zalman says, I don't know. I'm not sure I could exempt the Jews from kriya on Yerushalayim. You walk into Yerushalayim, and what do you hear in the old city? You have the mosques, the church bells ringing. I don't know. I don't think you have an exemption. Rav Moshe said, no, you do. He said you do. That doesn't apply to the Kotel. The Kotel, you still have to do kriya. In my opinion, if you best do kriya, you have to do kriya over the Kotel. It's bad enough we're missing the Mikdash. We should at least do kriya, all these different leniencies. Our his shirt, he borrows my shirt. I don't know. Just follow the law and do kriya. Maybe by morning for the Mikdash, it'll help bring the binyan, the building of the Mikdash. That's how Halachik changed when you had Jewish sovereignty occur 74 years ago. On page 3, look at E. Okay, it talks about the mitzvah of Yishuv Haaretz in all generations, and you can force each other to make aliyah. A husband force a wife can force a husband, or else the marriage is going to be jeopardized. F, Chazal say that many mitzvahs are equal to all mitzvahs. They talk about Mila, Tzedakah, Tefillin, and the Torah, learning, Talmud Torah, Chesed. There's only one mitzvah that clearly you can ask a guy to do Malach on Shabbos for you to do this mitzvah. You'll never guess which one out of that list. You want to guess? Yishuv Haaretz. You have Ahmed, and he has a piece of real estate, and it's on Shabbos, and he's open to sell it to you, this piece of real estate in Abu Ghosh, or wherever it may be, on the Muslim quarter, and you don't know if he's going to be available tomorrow. So you have the Gemara and the Shulchan Aruch Paskin. You go ahead, you show him your money. You say, hey, listen, I got $1 million shekel for you, 2 million, whatever it is. So in my Mapei Shemesh, 2 million shekel, you could get a bathroom. And you show him all the money. And he says, I'm going to sell it to you. He said, well, Ahmed, as much as I love you, I don't really know. I mean, tomorrow you'll take the money and run. I'll write a deed. You write a deed out. And I'll tell you word for word what to write in the contract. You tell him to do ksiva, writing, d'oraisa, on Shabbos for the sake of what? Yishuv Haaretz. There's a bris milah. An Erev is down. And you're in a place where there's 1 million people and it's real carrying. Can you ask the guy to carry the knife so you can do the milah? Yes or no? No. Maybe Drabonim you can ask him to do it. If it's Carmelites, you can ask him to do it. The lulav is no lulav. You have to drive. You ask the guy to drive you. No. Shof? No. There's no time for any mitzvah in the Shulchan Aruch, at least. They can ask him to do a d'oraisa b'alacha on Shabbos or on Yom Tov. Only one time. Yishuv Haaretz. It's wild. To me, it's strange even that in bris milah, where if you don't do milah, you're chayav what? That it doesn't violate Amir L'Akam. Only you can ask a guy to do it Rabbanan, Shvus to Shvus. That's amazing. Anyways, on page 4, I G the beginning of the Geula, beginning of the redemption. And the beginning of the redemption means that you have, because how do you know it's the Reish Geula Teinu? How do you know it's the beginning of the Geula? How do you know that? Rabbi Akiva thought Bar Kochva was the Mashiach, so he made a mistake. Well, maybe we make a mistake. No. There are clear signs that are given to us. The signs on the Gemara Sanhedrin Sadiches, Rabbi Abba says, the 2 signs of Geula is the ingathering the exiles and the fertility of the land of Israel. We have 6.9 million Jews here. We're the number 1 community. We're 45% of all the Jews around the world. In a few years, we're going to be majority. And so is the fertility of the land of Israel. Just look around. The growth is amazing. You walk outside at night in the springtime now, you smell the honeysuckles. I always tell people when I'm walking, what are you smelling? Honeysuckles, oranges, grapefruits. I said, no, that's not what you're smelling. You're smelling the geula. You're smelling the redemption. And when you see all the construction and the dust in this, oh, what do you see? Oh, I see dust and the cranes. No, you're seeing the geula. The cranes banging 6 a.m. You're listening to the God knocking. That's what you're hearing. And if you really believe it like I do, it changes everything. It changes everything. The dust on your car is beautiful. It's not any dust, it's redemption dust. And the noise is the noise of redemption. It's God knocking, cold dogido fake. And that was helped by the declaration of the state. But the first thing the state did was what? The law of return. We're not going to send the Jews back to Auschwitz anymore. Those days are over. We're bringing them home. And the Jews from Russia and Ukraine. Okay, we also have non-Jews. It's a little complicated. That's another step forward. And then you have H, fulfillment of the prophecies in the Nevuah after Nevuah. Just read the Nevi'im. It's such a tragedy that Nevi'im aren't so popular these days. So you don't always see the correlation between the Nevuah that talks about children playing in the land of Israel again. You watch kids play. And you read chapter 36, Yechezkel, coming home. It's just again and again. That's all things that we've seen, and that's it. So yes, not perfect. You have to see the bracha after bracha, the bottom of page 5, salvation of Israel. The fact that what? That we've been saved, and instead of Jews getting wiped out and having a Holocaust, we defend ourselves. How many times did Iran say they want to wipe us out? Now, it's not surprising that the world doesn't care. Nothing surprising about that. Unfortunately, the world's track record with us is not amazing. There's some righteous Gentiles here and there, but it's not a great track record. But the fact that they were the little saying and they want to destroy who else? The big saying, America, they should care, but for whatever reason. But we have to worry about ourselves. And every day, what are we doing in Syria? We just keep bombing every time they want to have a new base in Lebanon. And we just keep bombing them and bombing them and bombing them. And we can defend ourselves. We're not 100%. How many holy Jews were lost just the last few weeks in Beit Shemesh neighbor? There's plenty of tragedies. We gadol, we defend ourselves with Hashem's help. So all of these together, at page 6, all these salvations, and finally, of course, the spiritual salvation. Oh my gosh, people look at Europe. Oh, the glory days. Everything was amazing, especially the anti-Zionim. They talk about how beautiful life was in Europe. So the Zionim came around. Well, anyone knows a little bit of history knows there was a Haskalah movement, and the whole Judaism was hemorrhaging in Europe. The assimilation, the intermarriage was out of control. And marriages outside of Israel now, if you're not in the Orthodox world outside of Israel, it's a disaster. What is it in America now? Outside of Orthodox world, 70%, 80%. It's out of control. And here in Israel, tiny percentage, Jews are marrying Jews. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. So in terms of brachos that we have here from Hashem, bottom of page 6, Yom HaTzmaut is vested with many sanctity. The midst of settling the land, the beginning of the redemption, which created Kiddush Hashem in the eyes of the nations, the various salvations that the Jewish people merited with the rebirth of sovereign nationhood in our land. There's so many brachos, physical and spiritual. Those are the brachos that Hashem has given us. Now the question is, what do we do with this halachik? What do you do? So there are sources. We saw before between Mincha and right before Baruch Hu, the Mishnah Berurah, about creating a new Yom Tif to thank Hashem and different ways and how you go about it. And obviously, the Mishnah Berurah says that's a pretty big thing. But just to get a little taste of some of the sources, in part 2 of the section 1 is in page 7, the sources of the creation of a new holiday. Okay, and here I mentioned a very important point. Of course, in all areas of halacha, you have to be a Chabadnik. I always say, in areas of working with people, I'm a Breslov Chassid, and in areas of analyzing halacha, I'm a Chabadnik. In terms of working with people, ein yeyesh ba'olam. I never give up hope. Never give up hope. You always have to work and try this and try that, and maybe this is going to make this true. Maybe this is going to make him a better student, or this is going to help the marriage. You always have to try. Sometimes it doesn't work, but you have to try. Ein yeyesh. And when it comes to learning a sugya, you have to be a chabadnik. Chachma bina das. You have to learn a sugya. You can't just shoot from the belly. You learn the sugya. So let's see, does the sugya here present itself in a way that, that is proper and appropriate to have a new holiday? And guess what? We have on page 7, what does it say? Talks about all the sources there based on Megillah and other places in Yeridei and Orach Chaim, the Samfolfer, where great miracles happen to communities. And they decided that it's proper to make a Purim. They called it Purim each time, to make their own Purim. And that's been the model. There was a Frankfurt Purim, and Tveria Purim, and none of those salvations that they experienced are close. It was like 40 people, 100 people, 200 people. Some of them were just a fear, but it never really was real. They thought they were going to be attacked. They never were going to go, let's thank God for that. They were so quick to have a curse of Tov to Hashem. He had 600,000 people almost destroyed, and we were saved. It's like dwarfs everything. It dwarfs everything. And page 8, there was a big sheet of the Pri Chadash. He said, no, I don't like this. I don't like this idea, because he said there was something called Megillas Tanis. There were set days in the year that you can't have any fast. And the Pri Chadash said, you know what? Once we don't have the Megillas Tanis anymore because the Mikdash was destroyed, then you can't make a new holiday. The holidays were wiped out. You can't make a new one. And he would maybe possibly be against creating a new holiday. But there are many argue, Maram al-Shak and many others argue and say that, no. Those were Mikdash-related holidays. So once Mikdash was gone, then those were gone. So yes, there's a Pri Chadash, but the minhag in Klal Yisrael, the Mishnah Berurah, 4 times throughout the Mishnah Berurah, is clear that do we hold by that concept of Pri Chadash? No, you can never make a new holiday, or you can. There's another beautiful discussion opposed to wait. Maybe you're going to make a communal holiday, but not something for all of Klal Yisrael. That's a nice discussion. But these are all halachic discussions like any other halachic discussion. What's a good mechitza in the shul? Could it be a flimsy sheet like we have hanging there? Does it be a physical mechitza like you have in a sukkah? Can you see through the mechitza? Now, these are great shilas. Go through the sugya. Here too, go through the sugya. And the post can deal with this like any other sugya. Shulam Roth, of course, he was from Tzvi, the cook said that when Avraham Yitzchak the Kohen Cook died, Shulam Roth was the gadol, those not so well known, Kol Mevasser, and he writes about this as well. And the Chassam Sofer finish off on 9. That listen to this. Chassam Sofer 9I. Chassam Sofer writes that one might violate the prohibition of adding on to commands by establishing a holiday for all of Israel. Wow, that's an important one. Maybe only a communal holiday is appropriate. But you cannot make a national one. That does not contradict that thesis, because he means that one may not establish a nationwide holiday to commemorate a miracle that happened to one individual community. We are ever obligated to establish a holiday for all of Israel for a miracle that happened to the Jews as a whole. So that's a fascinating idea. That do we say that this holiday really, this salvation is international? And Rav Herschel Shechter, as we finish off section 1, in terms of the source, halachic source, and we're about to go into 2, Rav Herschel Shechter is in the Mizrahi magazine that just came out. He said, of course we have to celebrate Yom HaAtzmaut in New York. Why? He says, look at YU, the Yeshiva University where he's been involved in for half a century. Look at YU. Look how many guys are steiging the basement. Serious B'nai Torah. He said, it wasn't like that years ago, like this, to this level. He said, why? Because a lot of these mono-Orthodox kids went through the system in America, they survived, but when did they thrive and commit themselves to Torah in a serious way? When? In Israel for a year or 2 or 3. And that changed them. Yeah.
All the Jews converted at that time? Or?
Great question. So there's a lot of, well, first of all, don't forget, Achashverosh had control of how many places? Yeah, so some say that was a whole salvation, but perfect. And the posts came back and forth. Wait, what was a natural salvation? What's considered miraculous salvation? Has to be changing the laws of nature or not? Those are all great questions, especially when it comes to saying halal. Okay, so these are all discussed in good halachic discussions. So Rosh Hashanah, of course, we should spread around the world. This idea of having a Jewish sovereign state, it gave the Jews all around the world an identity. And we were hemorrhaging in Europe, falling apart, and this is it. This is a game changer internationally. Great, so that's the hashkafa part, where we saw the brachot that we were given with the Kamat Medina, then the halachic aspect regarding the making a new day, and now we'll take a little look at some of the brachos that we've had over the last year specifically, and really over the last 74 and 200 years. So the meteoric growth on page 8, 9, it's spiritually. So if you look at the pamphlet on page 9, it talks about how many guys are learning in yeshivas and kollels in the Haredi world. That's the first one, 9, 1 over there. Then you go to page 10, beautiful picture there of the Mir Yeshiva. That's just a tiny section. How many people in the Mir Yeshiva? 6,000. Here in Eretz Israel, supposedly the story goes that the Rosh Yeshiva said a few years back, guys, I want everyone to be here tomorrow and to have tremendous hakaras hatov. The biggest donor to Mir is going to be here. Someone could confirm the story, but whether he said it or not, there's tremendous truth to it. And who was it that came? The government to check out the numbers and see, do you really have this amount of people? And he said, I have a hakaras hatov. Because the system of the kollel works out where there's a stipend coming from the government. So here the Medinas Yisrael, people call it the Treifa Medina, which is a horrible name. It's true, they're not run by halacha, but it's called all Treif Chas v'Shalom. It's a lot of gray, it's not black and white, it's complex. They're supporting the yeshivas. And then on page 11, you have to go through this, but page 11 is amazing. This is a list of the heads, the yeshivas, and how many guys are in each yeshiva. I love the top entrance, which is Sderot. Sderot living right on the border. They've been just subject to so much abuse, and they have the number one heads, the yeshiva there. The roof is built in a way to take in rockets and not collapse from it. It's horrible they had to do that, but it's amazing. They just look at the numbers of our boys in the Datzilami world learning. Page 12, you have Rav Kook's Yeshiva Merkaz Harav there. You have on the picture where with the thousands of people, the biggest shul in Yerushalayim, they think it's Belz. Belz is dwarfed. Belz is gorgeous, right? There are thousands of people there, but Belz is dwarfed by which Hasidic dynasty in Yerushalayim? Gore. If I'm not mistaken, please check it out. And Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur davening, I think it's 15,000 people davening, maybe 20 with the Rebbe. This revival is in Eretz Israel. And Baruch Hashem, the government allows, protects the Jews to live here. Thank God. Then you have on page 12 on the bottom, another beautiful development is over the picture of Baruch Hashem. I was zocheh to be at the gathering there of the Datzilami rabbis from around the country, where the leading Datzilami rabbis, Rav Druckman, Rav Melamed, Rav Aryeh Stern, the chief rabbi of Yerushalayim. They're trying to have get-togethers with the rabbis so we can talk to each other and discuss different issues and challenges. I mean, the achdus is beautiful in each community. It's good to have achdus from one group to another, but even within the group. We mentioned the arguments with Rav Melamed, his ideas of conversion, his ideas about maybe letting the reform be that section of the Kotel. Those are controversial ideas. And Rav Aryeh Stern, the chief rabbi of Yerushalayim, Rav Rashi said, guys, you need to argue properly, like a Gemara argument, huh? You cannot get personal. And Rav Melamed was there. I was happy he was there because I think he's been attacked, and challenged is fine, but not attacked. So that's important. That's part of the growth. Each world has to grow properly. Okay, I always say that I was zocheh to be in Gush, where there, Machlok Shem Shemayim is in the DNA. Where there we had Rav Amital Zatzal, where he was a peacenik, and he thought that in 78 we had Begin and Sadat, and 95 you have the Oslo Accords. Looking back, like, no, it wasn't that way. But okay, when you're in it, you don't see history the same as later on. And Rav Meidan was a Rebbe there, and he said, this is great, this is suicidal, Arafat, this is crazy. There's no comparison to Begin and Sadat, nothing. And he had a hunger, famine. He was in the hunger tent in Yerushalayim, which was totally against his Rosh Yeshiva, his boss. And Rav Amital went and drove over there. And everyone thought he was going to go fire him. Probably would be disgracing. He said, Shkoyef, for holding by your views. You're fasting and you're putting yourselves in a horrible situation, you're risking your job. No. Kol hakavod. That's Machlokas Shem Shamayim. That's Machlokas Shem Shamayim. So we all have to work on that, and it's happening. Okay, then you have page 13 on the bottom, Kedushat Sion. Oh my gosh, I don't know if anyone was here from Mara a few nights ago. People said, what's going on? There were 70 Haredim Hasidim. People said, well, it looks like I came to Meir Sharon. And anyone stayed a few minutes to listen to their speeches. Oh my gosh. You think you're in Merkaz Harav. I'm part of this group called the Kedushat Sion, Haredim Hasidim, the full of Ush, and they look at the Jewish history similarly to some degree like the Tzionim, but they're in the Haredi world. It's an unbelievable synthesis. Of Yitzchak Brand, you have some great Talmidei Chachamim involved in the movement. You have some Zilberman. Zilberman's are independent-minded because they wear tefillin all day. They have their own sheet of learning. 5, they do Tanakh, then Mishnah 10 and Gemara 15. So they're already in the Haredi world, but they're a little bit out of the box in their own way. So they're like, a lot of them are in this group. Okay. Some half, not half, I don't know what the percentage is, a group percentage of the Kedushat Sion. They're full of Ush. They're going up where? To some secret place in Yerushalayim. What? That's not a Haredim. That's not Das Torah. To them it is. They're a fascinating group. But the tznius, and they all have kosher phones. They're not going to be on the, exposure, because the Datilami world, I think, is something we all have to look into, both the Orthodox world in America and the American, what is going on. So we hope Medina is a great bracha. We're going to be part of the army, and we're going to be part of the workforce. It's not going to be full life, full-time cola. It's a different shita. I hear that. Oh, and therefore, we're also going to have smartphones to give it to our unfiltered smartphones to give it to our kids by the time they're 10. Ma kesher. Yeah, but we're open to the world. Well, don't be open to the smartphone, unfiltered world. There's nothing to be open to there. It's a disaster. You don't need to be Sigmund Freud to know that someone, 11, 12, 13-year-old with hormones kicking in, who has in his pocket, unfiltered phone, it's going to be disaster. I never thought of that. So, Kedushat Sion, Tznius, Hakpada, Shmira, like the Haredi world, where they have done a marvelous job of Shmirah, as much as possible from the corruption that's out there. But thinking is like, yeah, we're going to keep the Shmirah, but we see a bracha going on here. And they had to celebrate. See the picture on the bottom? They celebrate on Chafetz Iyar, or around that time, Yom Yerushalayim. I was like, wow, what is going on here? And even the other night, this speech is unbelievable. It's supposed for me to host. And you should see all this Hasidim Haredim outside between the speeches, looking at the pictures on the wall. Usually people some of them ready to throw tomatoes at those pictures. The Tzionim don't like that Satmar Rebbe's up there, and the Haredim don't like that Rav Kook is up there, and then you have the Rabbi and Harabayas. Like, this is just a wall of shame. Look at all these people. Who's that Rosh Yeshiva? I don't recognize that one. Wow, they're so excited. It's the Haredi world, Tznius and the Shmira and all the beauty there, but a different headspace. Amazing. This is all part of the growth, the spiritual growth here in Eretz Israel. And when I was at the speech, I say Yom Yerushalayim, Rav Ovadia Seitz's grandson says, I'm introducing a new word into the Haredi lexicon. Meaning, it's not a Tzioini thing. Keeping hold on the land, not giving it to the Gentiles, that's a Jewish thing. And therefore, there's a fight over Chomesh, right? Or Kever Yosef. Who's going to be there protesting? Not just the Shrukis. Who? Members from Kedushat Sion. So too on the Harabai, they want to make it clear to the world, it's ours. But even avoid the Harabai's conflict in that question. Chomesh. Kever Yosef, they're destroying whenever they have a chance. No, we're going to show it's ours. We're going to make a presence. It's a different headspace. Amazing. Really amazing. So that's a spiritual growth. You don't want to have a Medina Yisrael, well, the other growth, the physical, you have, but no spiritual. The first thing on the list is the spiritual growth, and it is phenomenal. Everyone was afraid it's going to be Chinoni Medina, everyone's going to be treif and pig, and the world's going to be firm anymore. Well, that's not what's happening. Just the opposite. B2, now we're just going to sort of just look at titles over here. 14.2, the financial growth of Israel is just unbelievable. Just read this $1 billion company, that $1 billion, this one's 15, this one's 20. I was at a shiva call 2 years ago. My cousin David and his family sitting for my dear uncle Herbie Zechron Livracha, and I was with a company there, and I was talking to the fellows there at the shiva, and the high-tech company, he said, yeah, still working. Maybe we'll sell one day. I said, yeah, but you want them? What's she? He said, what do you sell for? He said, one. I said, what, $1 million? Come on. He laughed at me, $1 million. Nothing less than $1 million. And it's called tabula. And if you ever go on the internet, you search around with the filter, please, and you'll see fed by tabula. I think that's his company. It's crazy. But that's like where the lead financial. Just read the financial growth. It's crazy. I'm not going to go through all that. Okay, that's page 15. 16, fertility of the land. Fertility of land abroad. It's just unbelievable. Exporting to around the world. Even the Europe, EU, which not our biggest fans, are importing our vegetables and our fruits, year after year. It's just incredible. Okay, it's even talking about J is very special to me. Why? Because look at 16J, largest dairy farm in the Middle East, supporting the Chalutza project to expand the egg towns of Nave, B'nai Netzrim, Shlomo. They have established a high-tech sustainable dairy farm that will grow 1,500 cows and produce 900 million liters of milk a year. Largest dairy farm in the Middle East. And why do I have this special feeling for this one? Because if you looked at B'nai Netzarim, who's B'nai Netzarim? So Netzarim was a flagship town where? In Gaza in 2005, where, don't even get me started on Gush Katif. The disaster of Gush Katif just led to war after war after war. Besides, I won't say destroying 10,000 people's life, but certainly damaging them. It's amazing to see B'nai Netzarim, at least some of the people that survived that catastrophe, built a life for themselves. I was in Netzarim when we were still there, and I went to visit B'nai Netzarim afterwards, and Baruch Hashem, they're doing well. They created a beautiful community down south, and to see them, part of the statistic is very heartwarming of the resiliency of our holy brothers. So look in number 17. So of course, how can you talk about the success of Israel without Sahel? And you get to the spiritual growth, and then you get to the physical. So the top of that, of course, is the Sal. Without Sal, that's it. I quipped the other day, Israel likes going on Hafganot and going on strikes, right? That's part of the DNA here, going to strikes here. Chas v'shalom, Sal will go on strike for 10 seconds. We're done. It's 24/7. 24/7 with Siyata D'Shmaya. So you can never just underappreciate Sal and what's going on. And therefore, I put a long list, a beautiful list, 17, 18, 19. Go through that list and see the list of defense ministers who gave their lives, everything they had, after they worked their way up in the army, where they gave all their knowledge and talent to run the defense of Eretz Yisrael, Medinat Yisrael. David Ben Gurion, a lot of them were prime ministers, also defense ministers at the same time. They had a lot of work to do to protect and allow us to go to sleep at night. Just look at that list. It's a very impressive list. And even some of the people that are more leftist, I don't really hold what the stuff is, and Shimon Peres, so what? Don't be so black and white. Because I don't hold by his political views. For what? Have a car taton for what these people have done. So that's those few pages over there. It's a beautiful, beautiful list. And Yetz Hashem, you go through and look at it. Okay. December 20 and page 21. December 2000, Israel has staged hundreds of strikes on targets inside government-controlled Syria. Hundreds. Now, if we are striking them hundreds of times, where's the response? Why aren't they striking back? Well, you don't need to be a genius. The answer is why? Because they know that we are powerful, and you strike back, you mess with us, we'll wipe you out. So all they say is, we're going to get you back. There's not much to do. So they'll strike at us, and Hamas will end up, someone's going to end up killing us, which is a disaster. Every Jew's life is a world. But in terms of military conflict, it's a joke. You don't have a curse to Hashem for that? That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So that's page 21. Moving to 22, this is huge. Because we're so powerful, it's a new Mideast now. It's a game changer now. It used to be that peace is only land for peace. That's the only way we're going to make peace with you. You give us everything. P-E-A-C-E for the Arabs meant P-I-E-C-E. Give us a piece of you, and then we'll make peace with you. And of course, we're never going to make peace with you if we don't work out with the poor Nebuch Palestinians and let them have the law of return, let them have this, and that would be a great way for you to survive, by letting a few million of them into your shrine. Let them just take over the mosque and everything's going to be great, as we see, the good, well-behaved citizens in the month of Ramadan. And let the millions of them just come and live here in your backyard. So that was always the model. The new Mideast is all the Arab countries, not all, a lot of them, like, we want to make peace with you, Israel. And those pictures, look at the pictures, page 23, the Abraham Accords, okay, the UAE, and they're all working together. And that famous picture on page 24 of them all holding hands. And he did a great job. He did a great job, Lapid, in doing what? The six-way Negev summit. Once again, yeah, praising Lapid. I praise everything he says. No, that was an amazing maneuver, getting these countries all here to join the Negev summit. And what is the statement that they're all saying? Israel, we want to be connected with you. And all the poor Palestinians and Abbas, what's he saying? Yeah, he protested. He said, I'm not going to come. And he met the king of Jordan during the same time to protest. Well, great. They're just a bunch of losers. That's how the Arabs are looking at them. And at the conference, they said, we want to work on the Palestinian peace issue. They gave lip service, but they came and it wasn't the condition. It's a new Mideast because we're the powerhouse now. And we have that authority. And all these Arab countries know the only way they're going to fight against Iran is you have the Sunnis and this group and that group. The only way is if they get together with whom? A few decades ago, we're just getting washed out. 6 million of us asking America to help, that to help. And there were pictures of the railroads and they could have bombed it from the planes. Oh, we're too busy, we can't do this. And the president wouldn't even meet the rabbis. We only have ourselves to align with God's help. And look what we've done. Look what we've done. And 25E in the middle by Egypt Air, first Egypt history made arrived Tel Aviv, Beggars Airport, the first official direct flight from Cairo. So our peace with Cairo and Jordan is nothing compared to this new peace. I've spoken to people who've gone to the UAE and they said like they love us there. The relationship's unbelievable. Egypt and Jordan was a cold peace, but it's good. It's a functional peace, thank God. Egypt is the second most powerful country military, and we need to be close with them, but it's not the same. But even Egypt, we're getting a little warmer flights back and forth now. So moving on, okay, I only wish our holy brothers here would be able to say what a Gentile in America was able to say. 26G, Israel's creation was the greatest achievement of the 20th century. Who's that? House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Wow, that's amazing. She could see it. And I hope and I bless all of our brothers that they could see that Israel was clearly the greatest achievement of the 20th century. I'd say of the past 20th century, not just 20th century, but okay. Moving on. Page 27, our medical achievements mentioned over there. Check a look at those amazing, really great inventions and creations. 28. Okay, you have in the middle over there, Tikkun Olam, biodegradable versus compostable, where Israel's trying to help out. The plastic, you have no idea. I'm a big fan of the Science Times. I read that every week. The New York Times is a disgusting, horrible paper, but its one value for me is on Tuesday. It has a Science Times section, and you have no idea how much plastic is destroying the world. It's sitting in the ground and decomposing slowly. It's getting into our bodies and the whole ecosystem. So Israel's working on ways to have system of biodegradable, combustible. It's fascinating. So that's really Tikkun Olam. Because the way we're going in terms of the emissions and the plastic, what's going to be in a few generations, hard to know. And it's good to see that Israel and a few other countries are to work with. Is there going to be a future for this planet? We're going to destroy it, chas v'shalom. Moving on to 29. The list of Jews around the world and the list of Jews who are here, Kibbutz Galiot, the numbers are staggering. Just look at the list, 29, 30, 31, about all the different countries around the world with 5.9 million by us. And then you have, 6.9 million by us, 6 million in the States, France, 500,000, and then it just keeps going down from there. And that's it. It's only a matter of time before we are the majority of Jews from all over the world. And people say, wow, that's going to be the first time that you have a majority in 2,000 years. Not true. It's going to be the first time you have a majority not in 2,000 years. When we were destroyed in 70, we had a majority of Jews here then? No. We were kicked out already. The Second Temple, we didn't have a majority. Everyone was busy in Bavel. They didn't come. 40,000 Jews came with Ezra. How many Jews made it? The rest of them, I don't know. In the First Temple, even, we didn't have the majority by the end, because who was kicked out 100 years before the temple was destroyed? Who was kicked out? The 10 tribes. So we lost the majority 2,500 years ago. Do you understand? 2,500 years ago, we already lost the majority. So this is going to be the first time we have a majority in 2,500 years, give or take. Okay, a couple more points. The light unto the nations, page 33. Page 33, there's Herzog speaking, who often wears a kippah, which is beautiful. He comes from an illustrious family. Herzog, first chief rabbi of Israel. And go ahead and go to my dear colleague, Rav Kopperman, his Shulav at Zion, that gorgeous Aron. Where's that from? From Ireland. Rabbi Herzog was the rabbi there. Amazing history there. Right in our own backyard. And he's saying, Herzog, to the doctors at Ukraine Field Hospital, you are the beautiful Israel at its best. Agreed totally. He thanked the medical team. You're Israel at its finest. 33, page 33C. You and many dozen amazing Israeli women and men who are on Ukrainian soil fulfilling such a lofty mission, performing the incredible mitzvah. Incredible mitzvah. That's how he talks, Herzog. He's beautiful. That whoever saves a single life, it's as if he saved the whole world. You and your partners are extending a hand to a nation that finds itself in a terrible tragedy, a nation wounded and battered by humanitarian catastrophe. Ordinary people, human beings, God's creations are under difficult assault. I look at you and I know that you are doing the best you can. You fill us with pride. You certainly do. Far away from our home under sirens and alerts, and I thank you, the whole state of Israel. Wish you all Shabbat Shalom and every success. Look after yourselves and keep fulfilling your mission with pride and honor for the whole people of Israel and the whole Jewish people. Thank you very much. Beautiful, beautiful the way he speaks to the Karasi Tov, talking about Hashem. It's sad to say that I have to be excited when a leader talks about Hashem, but they don't always talk about Hashem, our leaders by mitzvah. And it's beautiful that he's speaking that way and talking about mitzvah, wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom. And the little personal connection on page 34, we'll finish off with this piece over here. That is my cousin Gilad, and I remember 40 years ago, my cousin Benny and Sharon, they came to the States. They were living here. They came to the States, and he was advancing in his career in medicine and getting bigger and bigger. Then offered big jobs in Philadelphia. He always said, "I'm going to come back. I'm going to go back. These are going to go back." And I was like, "Right, you're getting big jobs in Philadelphia. You're becoming a real top doctor here, financially and prestige. And you're going to go back to Israel and get less than your cleaning lady's going to get." And I know we're going to come back. We're going to come back. And I remember them raising their family around the corner from me in Bell Harbor. And then their son, Gilad, young man, a superstar in his 40s. He was one of the doctors who went to Ukraine. And there he is treating a 90-year-old Holocaust survivor. Just unbelievable. So it's not just a foreign message from Herzog to those doctors, it's my whole family. And it was on the WhatsApp back and forth, just you were Kiddush Hashem, Gilad. You're just unbelievable. You're a representative here, the light into the nations, saving Jews and Gentiles across the world. Who would ever think 70, 80 years we'd be unbelievable? And I put that funny picture, and I asked Gilad for a shush. Why did I put that funny picture? The movie came from the famous Beatles picture. Of course, that's amazing. You can be in the middle of Gehenna, and there's a danger. When you're in the middle of Gehenna and helping people in crisis out, you can't let it do what to you? Bring you down and depressed. You won't be able to help people that way. And that's not good. You have to have some magical combination of being serious and focused and there to help out the people, but somehow still keep what? That spirit. being upbeat for yourself and for the people that you're around. And that picture to me says so much. They're there, just, trying to enjoy and bring simcha somehow in the middle of Gehenna. It's beautiful. I feel the same way whenever I pass a machzom. Every time I see one of these holy soldiers, 20-year-old young men, young women, protecting us. They're serious. They have the finger on the trigger like they should. And you say, thank you so much to give you that beautiful smile. You go to American Marine and you say, thank you, to be able to smile, maybe, I don't know. That ability to somehow be serious, focused, and just keep that simcha as well. It's an amazing, amazing synthesis. It's beautiful. And that's 35. 36. Prime Minister's speech a few days ago, Yom HaShoah. We're talking about what we've gone through over the years. And if we don't protect ourselves, cannot count on anyone else. It's a very, very good speech, and it has to be us together with Hashem. And finally, we'll finish off with the Sharansky speech at a wedding, a Sheva Brachos, a few months ago, page 37. Natan Sharansky on the bottom, B. Natan Sharansky spoke this week at the Sheva Brachot of Yossi and Hannah Dickstein's wedding. Yossi lost both his parents and brother to a terrorist attack when he was just 7 years old. Sharansky shared the following story to those at the Simcha. When I grew up in Ukraine, in the city of the next, there were people of various nationalities living there. Last page, 38. Their ID certificates had the word Russian, Ukraine, Georgian, Kazaki. It wasn't that important. There wasn't much of a difference. One thing was important. If it had the word Jewish written on it, that would be as if you had some disease. We knew nothing about Judaism except anti-Semitism and hatred towards us. That's why no one tried to replace the word Russian or the word Ukraine in order to get accepted to the university. But if you had the word Jewish on your ID papers and you can manage to change that, your chance of getting accepted was so much higher. I was reminded of this while watching this week, how thousands of people are standing at the borders trying to escape this tragedy in Ukraine. They stand there day and night, and there's only one word today that can help them out: Jewish. If you're a Jew, there are Jews outside who care for you. There's someone on the other side of the border looking for you. Your chance of getting out is so much higher. The world I knew has been turned upside down. When I was a child, Jewish was an extraordinarily bad word. No one was jealous of us. Today at the border of Ukraine, Jewish is an extraordinary word for good. Besides, people have somewhere to go. And there's an entire nation, the family waiting for them outside. How beautiful is that? Just in a matter of decades, from the Gehenna and the hell that we had 70, 80 years ago, to his own background just a few dozen years ago, where the Jews were nothing. Just a despised, hated nation. And here were the superheroes of the world. Some don't appreciate, some are jealous of us. That's their problem. And here we are at the epicenter of the world, spiritually, physically, militarily, financially. Just mind-boggling. And all year, every day, we should have so much hakarat Hashem, what He has given us. But it's not always easy every day, that level of appreciation. But at least today, we should really internalize those feelings and appreciate what Hashem has given us. Baruch Shechianu v'Kvan v'Ganu l'Zman Hazeh. We should have a Chag Sameach. And Yetz Hashem, we should go Michayel Chayel. Chag Sameach.
Beautiful.
Chag Sameach, guys. You should enjoy. You should enjoy. We should go Michayel Chayel. Okay, take care. Enjoy Tzvat. Enjoy all the celebrations up there.
Mm-hmm.
And you should be well, Ron. You should be well as well. And Yetz Hashem, Chag Sameach. Chag Sameach to everyone.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining. Be well.
You too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.